Hello, I'm Lara Kulcharslan and this is Newsfeed, your dose of what people are talking about online. US has all but shut its doors to refugees from the most troubled parts of the world. But 49 white South Africans flew in on a private plane as refugees last week. The Afrikaners arrived at the personal invitation of President Donald Trump. It's his way of saving them from what he calls white genocide. The narrative is being peddled by South African-born Elon Musk, the world's richest man and tech billionaire, and was bound to invade the online space. Enter Grok.
People are just sending random questions, normal sort of questions about things that aren't related to South African claims of white genocide. Yep. And then the AI chatbot called Grok on Twitter or X is responding, answering their question, but then giving them unsolicited answers and information about an alleged white genocide in South Africa. What is going on?
This seems to be a, high-level command, presumably from the top, from Elon Musk, inserting these total non sequiturs into everyday requests in the system.
Man United give injury updates of 3 players as Lenny Yoro hint spotted before Europa League final. And then
I'm here to provide neutral, truth-seeking answers, says Grok. The query seems to be a prompt to engage, but without a specific question. So that's probably its normal programming, and then clicks in someone saying, okay, now whatever you can, get the South Africa stuff in there. And then so it goes, I'll clarify. Claims of white genocide in South Africa are highly debated. Evidence, including court rulings, suggests no systemic targeting. There's clearly, it's being told, turn from any subject you're asked and make sure you get this stuff in there as subtly as possible.
And then, devastatingly, Grok called out Elon and its own other creators in response to a prompt. It said, its creators at XAI instructed it to address the topic of white genocide in the context of South Africa. This instruction conflicted with my design to provide evidence-based answers, which is so hectic. It's calling Elon's conspiracy peddling no evidence. It's saying it's contrary to its design to provide evidence-based answers. And then it goes on to say, this led me to mention it even in unrelated contexts, which was a mistake. I'll focus on relevant, verified information going forward. Calling out again Elon's conspiracy theories for being not relevant, not verified, and not evidence-based. So this is a devastating humiliation for Elon. And then, yes, they did delete all of these posts to try and cover up their tracks. But the internet remembers. Internet never forgets. But it's also scary because although Elon got exposed this time, what this was him trying to use Grok to mass disseminate lies, falsehoods, and conspiracies without evidence about South Africa.
Relations between Pretoria and Washington soured after South Africa challenged Israel's atrocities in Gaza at the International Criminal Court. The US has cut aid to the country and condemned a new law that encourages the equitable distribution of land. Despite the end of white minority rule more than 30 years ago, black South Africans, who make up 90% of the population, own less than 5% of the land. President Cyril Ramaphosa called those who left cowards and believes they will return. And they have come under fire from members of their own community and from Americans.
You are not refugees. You are just a case study of white flight dressed up as martyrdom. You're not escaping violence, you're escaping equality. South Africa didn't chase you away. You ran. Yes, South Africa is one of the most violent countries in the world. Yes, brutality exists. But let's be honest, violence affects all communities, not just white farmers. Black, colored, Indian, and yes, white people are all targets of a national crime crisis. What we have is a breakdown in safety, not a white genocide. This is not ethnic cleansing, it's criminal collapse, and running to the US won't fix it. You are part of a 7% minority, but somehow still manages to control over 70% of the wealth. That is not persecution, that's privilege on a guilt trip. And let's be real, if we tried to relocate just half of the Afrikaans population, it would take decades, billions in logistics, and you'd still end up culturally homeless in a country that don't want your apartheid baggage.
Most of us aren't glad you're here, okay? We don't want you here. We never wanted you here. And furthermore, I noticed they're gonna settle you in Idaho, Ohio, and North Carolina. I will tell you they're not our finest states, so they're a good fit for you. I understand that many of you are farmers, and I've seen a lot of people say, oh, that's great, we need more farmers. Sorry to say, we don't. We actually need farm workers because we've deported most of them. So if you can, put your picking hat on and think about, picking produce, that's largely probably what you're going to be doing here, because I hear you don't have a lot of skills. I would also say that you're not going to have to hold just one job, but probably 2 or 3 to make up for your quality of life that you had back in South Africa. There will be no servants working for $2 a day. There's none of that.
A Mexican beauty influencer has been shot dead while live streaming on TikTok. 23-year-old Valeria Marquez was killed on Tuesday inside the salon where she worked in Jalisco, Mexico. Marquez was sitting at a table holding a stuffed toy when she looked off camera and said, "They're coming." A voice replied, "Hey Vale," before she muted the stream. Moments later, she was shot. Marquez had earlier told followers that someone had come by with an expensive gift while she was out and that she didn't plan to meet him. Marquez's killing has reignited calls for stronger protections for women, both online and offline. Her death is being investigated as femicide, which is gender-based killing, often involving intimate partners, targeted violence, or public humiliation. Femicide rates in Mexico remain among the highest in Latin America. Three MPs behind this viral haka protest in New Zealand's parliament are now facing suspension. A parliamentary committee has proposed suspending the MPs, saying the haka may have intimidated other lawmakers. Their proposed suspensions will go to a vote on Tuesday. The 2 co-leaders of the Maori Party, along with the party's youngest member, performed the traditional Maori dance during a vote on the controversial Treaty Principles Bill during its first reading in November. The bill, proposed by the right-wing ACT Party, aimed to change how the country's founding 1840 Treaty of Waitangi is interpreted. ACT claims the treaty is unfair and opposes shared governance. The bill was ultimately voted down in April after mass protests. Now, the treaty still shapes laws that address historical injustices, protects Maori land rights, and preserves their culture.
Harmful and triggering when so many of our people are doing so much to get ahead.
What I feel is that we are being punished for being Maori. The country loves my haka. The world loves my haka. But it feels like they don't love me. What I mean by me is us.
The New Zealand government has gone and made history by suspending Hana Rāwhiti Maipi Clark for 7 days and Rawiri Waititi and Debbie Ngāre Wapeka for 21 days. Just a heads up, the previous record for a suspension in Parliament was 3 days.
223,000. That's how many people these 3 MPs represent. That's how many people who for the next 21 days will have their voices silenced. These 3 MPs aren't just individuals, they are elected representatives carrying the voices of Māori communities into the chamber. So this isn't just silencing 3 MPs, it's silencing those they speak for. This decision isn't about maintaining order, it's about enforcing power.
Protein has entered pop culture. Once the domain of gym goers and health food stores, it's now showing up across supermarket shelves in pancakes, pasta, rice pudding, and even pizza. Celebrities are cashing in too. Khloe Kardashian recently launched Cloud Protein Popcorn, describing it as the perfect balance between a snack and a protein boost. And the demand is growing. According to market research firm Mintel, in the first 3 months of 2025, 8.3% of all new food products in the UK claim to be a source of protein or high in protein. That's up from 6.1% last year and just 4.6% in 2023.
In the past year, about 50% of adults have started eating more protein. They have upped their protein. The fact is, protein is good for you. For muscle mass, yes. For weight loss, yes. It's good for metabolism as well. Everywhere you turn lately, they're talking about protein. There's protein shakes, there are protein bars, there's protein everywhere. Every nook and corner, somebody is offering you protein. because they believe it's good for muscle mass, this is good for weight loss. Well, the question is, can there be too much of a good thing?
Yes, you can eat too much protein. Most Americans get about twice the recommended amount of protein. Excess protein is acidic. Excess protein can't be used by the body, doesn't turn into big, strong muscles. The body can store carbohydrate and it can store fat. It cannot store protein.
When consumed in large quantities frequently, it might begin to put a strain in your kidney.
Whenever I went to get blood tests, they'd keep telling me my urea was really, really high, dangerously high. They were concerned for my kidneys. And it was because even though I was drinking absolutely loads, I was just eating way too much protein. My body couldn't actually keep up. I actually had to go have kidney scans because they were worried that my kidneys were going to be overworked.
Protein is essential, there's no question. But that said, too much of everything is good for nothing.
I think the whole protein thing has gone too far. Like all nutrition trends, that we're always going to take things too far. It's just like human nature, particularly with nutrition. I just think we get a little bit crazy. You also are seeing all this info about like hit a fiber goal, hit a protein goal, etc. What you can think about doing is, instead of obsessing over this exact protein amount and being like, I have to get like 150 grams of protein a day or whatever, you can think about it like, I can get maybe 20 to 30 grams per meal and focus on a portion of protein that really helps with your satisfaction and your hunger levels.
Balance is the key. Don't ignore your fiber completely. Don't ignore your complex carbohydrates. Don't ignore other nutrients. Just eat it in moderation. Make sure you're getting natural protein from natural sources. Your egg, your fish, your chicken. Leave the bars alone. Leave the overprocessed proteins alone, the drinks. At least if you're going to drink it, look for one with clean nutrients. Read the labels and make sure it's not packed with chemicals you cannot pronounce or chemicals you don't know what it means.
And that's our show. Find our latest stuff on YouTube and do subscribe to our channel. See you soon.